wide open now.
First Ram with 150-plus and 2 receiving touchdowns in a game since 2021. It was Cooper Kupp then. I believe that was a Offensive Player of the Year. Cooper Kupp, 2021.
Triple Crown
season. Just a bunch of ball knowers.
Yo, they ran the ball for 249
Told you,
yards.
everything worked. Everything.
Most points in any game since 2022. Emory Hunt, it was all working. All right, 3+ complemented by 3 on the ground in the Super Bowl era. 2025 against Arizona. Stafford gets the job done. 45-17, and looked like we might have a game, like first 2 drives. We didn't. All right, back in studio with the fellas, and we were sitting here wondering what the bounce back would look like coming off the Carolina loss. We get a pretty good idea of the makeup of LA after that misstep. They come out this way, JJ. What do they show you here as we try and project LA forward?
Again, when we get to this time of the year, and it is a clear separation of who are good to great teams, who are the middling teams, and then who are the teams where their fans are looking at the draft and where they're going to be picking next year. I want to see the good to great teams absolutely pull away from those other teams. And that's what we saw from the Rams. We saw Matthew Stafford say, I know that they can't guard Puka Nacua. And I know that this defense is missing so many pieces. And I know that that offense on the other side, they're not going to be able to keep pace with us. In fact, no team in the NFL can keep pace with us when it comes to putting points up on the board. And so that is ultimately what I saw from a Rams team. Taking care of the business that they needed to. Run all over them, pass all over them. Puka Nacua is better than anybody that you guys have out there. Matthew Stafford will feel whatever lack of rush you have. And just the better team took care of business, did not play down to their opponent. That is not what the LA Rams have really done the last several years with Sean McVay, and that's not what they will do moving forward.
530 total yards, and this one sort of when we start to think of where things are going to happen, if they can get it in their building, I mean, if controlled environment, this offense is going to go. I'm not pointing to the elements being the reason for the loss a week ago, but it looked far more high octane here, Matt.
It did. And you can tell the loss last week, they were angry. Mm-hmm. The way they played on both sides of the football field, they wanted to dominate and they wanted to embarrass a team because they felt like they let one go last week. And it started with their quarterback and Matthew Stafford. Remember last week we saw the untimely interceptions surface in his ball game, red zone interceptions. They took one back for a defensive touchdown, the costly fumble. That wasn't tied to Matthew Stafford before Carolina Panthers, the outing, right? And now today he got back to being the Matthew Stafford that we praised and raved about in terms of being in the MVP conversation. And I agree with you, Joe. I look at all the teams, the high-level NFC teams. I think the Rams will benefit from playing at home the most.
Yep.
Because of their style of play and seeing what has happened in past experiences in frigid conditions or not the ideal scenario outside. But
they lost in the snow to Philadelphia last year.
Yeah. But when you see what they do in quality control environments, weather-wise, they can go with the best of them.
You can grow the grass outside. Just bring it in here for the game. We'd like to play it here.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't like their chances because I think Sean McVay is the best coach in the NFC. Right? I would take him over any other coach in the NFC based on what he's done. But I'm just saying I really feel good about their chances if they can get everything in a controlled environment, similar to what we saw today.
Here's the thing. It's a couple of things that I noticed about the Rams. One, I think they have the best franchise in football because when you look at what they do out there during the regular season, this starts in April because their scouting staff does a fantastic job of scouring the nation, getting talent to where when they do have injuries during the regular season, because we know it's a war of attrition, guys step in and play really well, so they're able to sustain that level of continuity. Then when those guys come back, the healthy guys come back, they're able to knock it out the park and play. On top of the fact that this is very important, they can run the ball when they want to. So they run the ball whenever they want to get a lead, to sustain a lead, and to close out the ball game. All the passes stuff that we saw in between, that's cute. Yeah. That's fun. They can do that. That's explosive. But let it be known, they run the heck out the football, and they're built well in the trenches, and they have depth. All of those things top to bottom linear leadership, the Rams are doing it the best.
The one area of concern I have with the Rams, and I'm not talking about regular season play because we know they're going to take care of their business. It's about postseason play now. If you're a Rams fan, you're starting to set your eyes on January football because that's where you're going. The one concern I have is in the secondary at the cornerback positions. Right? We saw last week they kind of got exposed.
Emmanuel Forbes.
Mm-hmm. He did not start. It was Akello Weatherspoon back in the lineup. So that seems like they're still trying to figure things out outside of Kobe Durant, the opposite corner. That's the one area when you look at their defense, you love their front, you love their pass rushers, you love their linebackers. Yep. You love Cam catches at the safety position, you love Lake also. The perimeter cover guys is the one element because you look at the NFC, if you see a team like Philly, they got dudes. Even though sometimes their passing game has been up and down, they got dudes. We know what Detroit has. Green Bay got a multitude of dudes, especially with Christian Watson. So that's the one area of concern I look at when I look at the Rams in terms of their playoff aspirations, championship aspirations, that outside cornerback position. Everything else I love.
And that's fair because the other thing is we're talking about who could benefit the most from playing at home. It's the Los Angeles Rams because we're talking about their offense. But, you know, in that it's technically an outdoor stadium because the wind can kind of get in, the weather can get in.
In there too.
Right. But this is an indoor stadium, and so the other team gets to throw on your corners. Yeah. In a controlled environment as well. So it's interesting that you point that out. There's sort of one weakness as you look into January football is something that you would think is a strength on the other side.
Yeah. If you do end up in one of those frigid locations, the run game looked like it can travel on this day as they find the best version of Blake Corum they could get. But did you call the pass game cute?
It was cute.
It's cute, man?
They got dogs, too.
Don't let him hear you.
Receiver. All of them look the same.
That is a dog. Can maybe he can play some corner, too.
Probably so.
A little two-way start. Puka Nacua, 150-plus. The last 3 seasons, second to only Jay Jettis. With a few big ones. CBS lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones, the 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, and America's running back Emory Hunt offering their thoughts here. And we start with the Broncos and the Raiders. And I want to start with this box score because I'm looking at Bo Nix, 31 of 38 for 212. It's this paradox that is Bo Nix. What did you make of the play calling and maybe the freedom that they're giving Bo Nix at this part of the season in that offense?
You know what? I don't want to say the play calling was a bit conservative, but they did what they needed to do to win this ball game. And I'm okay with that. Like, I think most fans are getting in this world where you want to see entertainment. You want to see style. You want to see pizzazz. In the National Football League, the name of the game is win, baby. Just win by any means necessary. So whatever it is you need to do to win, do so. And that is what the Denver Broncos did today. Yeah, Bo Nix probably didn't wow you with his passing numbers, but he was extremely efficient, completed 81% of his passes, no turnovers, protected the football, very, very quick, decisive with his decision-making, and he allowed his playmakers to do the rest. The running game showed up. And defensively, listen, when you have a defense like the Denver Broncos has, you don't need to go out and try to win ball games. You just allow them to defend every blade of grass, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to come home with the grass in their back pocket. And that's what they did today. So I understand some fans might get a bit, annoyed with how bland their team looks, the offense looks. But at the end of the day, it's all about winning games, and they continue to stack win on top of win.
Emory, they at least played from in front in this one, but still not the runaway that felt like was on the table for them if they wanted it against Vegas here. What's your assessment of the style?
Well, if we watched the game completely, you saw the Raiders' defense actually give them a chance to win. And that, even though Bo Nix completed all those passes, 5.6 yards an attempt isn't the way to go. And the problem is when you face a team that has a better offense than the Raiders, they're going to need Bo Nix to play above the X's and O's. And we've seen him do that at times. But in this ball game, the defense was able to keep the Raiders at bay. But offensively speaking, they moved the ball, and sometimes it was, Bo Nix trying to scramble around and found a completion, which is great because it kept you ahead of the chains and whatnot. But in terms of going out there and making things happen offensively, they probably should have beaten the Raiders by like 15 points. But you have to take the wins when they come. Raiders got a late score, but I just feel like the offense is going to be sort of an issue come playoff time because their defense is going to, at some point, be challenged.
Look, here's what I did not like about it. So first of all, let me say what I did like about it. This was not a come-from-behind win, right? I do like, and I completely agree with you, B-Max, sometimes you just got to win ugly. It doesn't really matter. It's just about winning. And going into this game, the Denver Broncos knew we don't have to go out there and score 40 points to win this game, right? So they did what they had to do to get the win. What I didn't like about it was that they didn't put the Raiders away. right? Like, if I talk about the New England Patriots and when they face the New York Giants, they are a much better team. They should dispatch of an inferior team immediately. And what did we see up until midway through the third quarter? We saw one offensive touchdown by the Denver Broncos. We saw the 49-yard punt return, and that was the Denver Broncos offense. That concerned me. Then, when they get down toward the goal line there, and they can go up, I think, 28-7, but they settle for a field goal. You got this defense on the ropes. You are trying to be the number 1 overall seed. Why aren't you punching it in right here? When at the end of the game, again, game's out of reach, but why can't you pick up the first down just in the game? And they don't. They have to give the ball back to the Las Vegas Raiders. So this should have been a, hey, let's get our offense looking right over here. And yeah, Bo Nix completed plenty of his passes. All that's good, fine, and well. But I didn't see this offense taking that next step against an inferior opponent. We've talked about that defense. We talked about how Shedeur Sanders got his first start against this defense. That was the best time ever. This should have been the best time ever for Bo Nix and the Denver offense to get right, and they kind of didn't.
It should have been that. What it is a 10th consecutive win, almost exclusively since October, come from behind wins. This one, they do dictate the terms to, but again, not necessarily finishing through the line we had hoped or expected them to. Yet and still, it is a game of framing, and we could frame it a million different ways. You could say that in 2 years' time, Sean Payton has pretty effectively taken what was looked at as a lesser talent relative to his class and made a 1 seed out of it here through 14 weeks of football. How much credit does Sean Payton deserve?
An immense amount of credit, because you talk about changing the culture within that building. Remember, before Sean Payton got there, when they were wandering in the wilderness with Nathaniel Hackett, and Russell Wilson. And look, you may disagree with some of Sean Payton's tactics and maybe how he goes about his business. The fact is he's getting results, and they are indisputable. The fact that they got to the playoffs, and then, look, we didn't really believe in the Denver Broncos once they got to the postseason last year, but they made it there, right? And so what do you say after that? Okay, build upon that. Well, this is what they're doing. They are building upon that by potentially getting the number 1 overall seed in the conference and getting the first round bye. So credit goes a great deal to Sean Payton, also to George Payton and that front office, because, you know, a lot of people, when Sean Payton took that job, they said, oh, well, he's going to get one of his Saints guys in there. George Payton's not long for that gig. And they have, one, worked together. Two, there's been a lot of people who have left that front office to take better jobs elsewhere, GM jobs elsewhere, and he has dealt with that attrition as well. So credit to Sean Payton for changing the culture, and credit folks there understanding that you can stick with the good things and dispatch the bad.
I will say this about Bo Nix and Sean Payton. I like the fact that he still allows Bo Nix to be Bo Nix. He didn't try to change Bo Nix to make him be a quarterback that he's not. He's saying, hey, he's going to figure out, he's going to work through whatever it is he's working through. But I do like the fact that we're allowing Bo Nix to go out there, scramble around, find completions, not make the mistakes. He was plagued by some turnovers last season, and this year he's seen to cut that in half. And I want to see the game of Bo Nix progress even more. So once they get inside the red zone, use his legs, use his athleticism, let him be a +1 in the run game. I think that's one way they can elevate their game going into the postseason. But in terms of allowing Bo Nix to play his game, this is the same Bo Nix we saw at Oregon and some of the same Bo Nix, the positive side that we saw at Auburn, and they're allowing him to be him without trying to transform or conform to a certain system.
And the one luxury they have, if they're not careful, everything in the playoffs will have to go through Denver. That's a huge plus. Going to Mile High, playing in those in circumstances with that defense. For you, if you're Bo Nix, this is the best ideal position you can be in. If you get the number 1 seed, you instantly in the second round of the playoffs. All you got to do is win 2 games.
Yeah.
And you're in the Super Bowl. That's it, 2-0. That's the name of the game. So they just got to continue to stack wins. And that's the one thing they've been doing. They've been finding a multitude of ways to win. Usually it has been coming from behind. Today they didn't. We saw special teams surface. And when you have a defense like that, man, defense travels in postseason play. So you just got to make timely plays. Make the timely plays that you need to make. Routine plays happen routinely.
And I think what we're talking about here with the Denver Broncos, we're talking about the fixtures, the lighting, the faucets, all of the things that make it pretty. We're talking about a foundation in Las Vegas that's not currently what you want to build on top of. When you look at the head coach and his viability moving forward, what's the latest we're hearing on Pete Carroll, his job security, his desire to be there beyond this year?
I think there's a lot of desire for Pete Carroll to continue coaching. I think that we have seen that for many years. And so I don't think that one bad year in Las Vegas is going to extinguish that flame that lives inside Pete Carroll. However, it's not going to be up to Pete Carroll. That's effectively going to be up to Mark Davis, the owner of the team, and ostensibly, of course, Tom Brady, who is running essentially football operations for this group. Now, I've been told, don't worry about the general manager there, John Spytek, in his first year as GM. He has been considered safe and will continue to be considered safe going into his second year. But is the Pete Carroll project working out? He's already fired 2 coordinators, right? First, a special teams coordinator, and then Chip Kelly, and not just an offensive coordinator, right? But the highest paid offensive coordinator, I think, in NFL history, Chip Kelly, and it only lasted 11 games. Didn't get the quarterback right. This defense isn't playing very well. The offensive line was not figured out and will not be figured out this season. There's claims of nepotism with Pete Carroll bringing in 2 of his sons to be on the coaching staff, where they haven't really been successful without their dad as the head coach. And so all of these things can coalesce, can cascade on Pete Carroll. He's been a one-and-done head coach before. It's been a long time. He's had a lot of success since then. But a lot of folks within the NFL would not be surprised if at the end of the season, the Las Vegas Raiders job winds up becoming open.
All a matter of framing. It's just a touchdown loss to what is now the 1 seed, 24-17. A look at the most losses in a season for Pete Carroll. You allude to it, Jonathan Jones, and we see it. Now 11, the worst campaign he's had as an NFL head man.